I almost lost my life while they vacationed in Cabo using my cards. Then they tried to claim they had rights to my house until the proof waiting in my kitchen finally wiped the confidence off their faces. My body was shutting down. I was hooked up to IVs, fighting for my life in the ICU. But the real pain? That hit when I finally saw my phone, my entire family, living it up in Cabo on my dime, while I lay there, literally dying. The first thing I registered was the insistent, maddening beeping. Asterisk beep. 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 Asterisk. It felt like it was drilling directly into my skull, burrowing deep, settling in to stay. My eyelids felt like they were superglued shut, and when I finally managed to pry them open, the harsh fluorescent lights seared my retinas. Where am I? The hospital smell, that antiseptic sting, coated my throat. Something tight and cold was taped to my hand, and 4-line. My throat was raw, burning, like I'd swallowed broken glass. A tube. They'd had a tube down my throat. How long had I been out? My mind raced, foggy and slow. I fumbled for my phone, my fingers thick and clumsy, refusing to grip the smooth metal. It took what felt like forever, but I finally managed to lift it. The screen flared to life. 3:47 a.m. Monday. I collapsed on Thursday. For days. For whole days I'd been here, and the notification count on my phone? A grand total of 3. 3, my parents? They should have called 100 times. My sister, Kinsley? She would have blown up my phone with dramatic voicemails, freaking out, demanding to know where I was, how I was, telling everyone how much I'd scared them. That's how it always went. They panic. They demand. They need. But my screen was chillingly blank. No missed calls. No frantic texts. Nothing. Then I saw it. The first notification. Bank of America. My stomach dropped right through the hospital bed, I swear. $12,400 charge at Cabo San Lucas Resort. Posted 2 days ago. My vision blurred. I blinked hard, trying to clear the fog. Read it again. $12,400. Cabo San Lucas. Cabo? I haven't been to Cabo in my life. I haven't been anywhere in years except work trips. The second notification was Instagram. I barely use Instagram. Kinsley, though, she lives on it, posts her entire life for strangers to consume. I only keep the app because she guilt trips me if I don't like her photos fast enough. My thumb shook so violently I almost dropped the phone. The image loaded, and something inside my chest just cracked. Preston. Deidre. Kinsley. All 3 of them, clustered around a table, margaritas raised high, the ocean glittering behind them, a perfect sunset. My dad was wearing that stupid Hawaiian shirt I bought him. My mom's hair was perfect, beach waves, flawless makeup. Kinsley was mid-laugh, head thrown back, designer sunglasses perched on her head. The caption, Healing Trip W, the fam disconnect to reconnect. Family first. Posted yesterday. While I was lying here, dying, they were toasting each other in Cabo. The third notification was a voicemail. I pressed play, even though a part of me already knew, deep down, what I'd hear. Kelly, it's Mom. We just wanted to let you know we made it safely. The resort is absolutely gorgeous. Your father says the course here is top tier. Anyway, we'll check in later. Love you. Love you. It was so chipper. So breezy. Not a single question about why I hadn't responded. Not a flicker of concern that their daughter, who works 70-hour weeks and never takes a day off, had gone completely silent. Because they knew. They knew exactly where I was. The hospital called them. They had to. I'm the one who pays for their cell phones. I know the number by heart. Someone from this hospital called my emergency contacts and told them their daughter was in the ICU with sepsis. And they chose margaritas. My hand was shaking violently now as I scrolled back, past the cheerful vacation photos, looking for something. Anything, a worried text from 4 days ago. A missed call. Time-stamped right after my collapse. Nothing. Just an empty, terrifying void. But then I saw something from 5 days ago. Before I collapsed. From Kinsley. Need $500 as soon as possible. Dress for Cabo didn't fit. Don't ignore me. I remembered that text. I was at my desk, drowning in files, trying to fix a six-figure shipment discrepancy. The pain in my abdomen had been building for hours. Sharp. Insistent. I kept telling myself it was just stress. Just a reminder to eat something other than vending machine crackers. Kinsley's text came through. And I did what I always did. Pulled up my banking app. Hovered my thumb over the transfer button. The pain spiked then. White hot. Blinding. I remember falling. The cold tile of the office floor against my cheek. My phone, still clutched in my hand. Kinsley's text still open on the screen. Even as the edges of my vision went dark, I remember thinking, asterisk, I need to send the money first. Kinsley needs that dress. It's important to her. I can't let her down, asterisk. I collapsed, trying to fund their vacation, while my own organs were shutting down. The door to my room opened. I expected a nurse. Instead, it was Aunt Lenor, Preston's older sister. The only one who came. She'd been estranged from the family for 15 years, ever since she refused to co-sign one of his ridiculous investment schemes. She looked exactly like I remembered, steel gray hair, sharp at her shoulders. Eyes that missed nothing. You're awake. She crossed to my bedside, set down a leather portfolio. I recognized it from her forensic auditing days. Good. We have a lot to talk about. How did you know I was here? My voice was a wreck, gravel grinding against stone. The hospital called me. You listed me as your primary emergency contact 2 years ago. She pulled up a chair, settling in like she was ready for a long haul. Smart move, sweetheart. I answered on the first ring. And my parents? Lenor's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Rage, maybe. Or disgust. They answered, too. The words hit me like a physical blow. They answered, Preston told the hospital the vacation package was non-refundable. Said he had a networking golf tournament he couldn't miss. Your mother said you were probably being dramatic. Lenor leaned forward, her voice low and steady. They chose Cabo over you, Callie. Consciously. Deliberately. I should have cried. I should have felt something break. But instead, I just felt cold. A young nurse appeared in the doorway, kind-faced. Miss Howard, do you want us to try calling your parents again? We can. No. The word rasped out, harder than I intended. The nurse blinked. I looked at that Instagram photo one more time. My father's satisfied smile. My mother's perfect hair. Kinsley's carefree laugh. Then I handed my phone to Lenor. My grip was weak. But my intent? Unshakable. Block them, I whispered. Block all of them. Lenor took the phone. Studied my face for a long moment. Then she nodded. About damn time. The morphine fog lifted by noon the next day, and with it came a clarity I wasn't sure I wanted. Lenor had transformed my hospital room into something that looked like a crime scene investigation. Her leather portfolio was open, papers fanned out in neat stacks. She'd brought her laptop, that same ancient ThinkPad she used when she worked fraud cases for the state. How long have you been tracking them? I asked. 8 months. She didn't even look up from the screen. Started the day Preston called me drunk, bragging about his high-yield investment strategy. Said he was bringing in 12% returns quarterly. You know what legitimate investments are returning right now? Maybe 4% annually if you're lucky. Bingo. She tapped a key, and the printer on the windowsill started humming. So I got curious. Started pulling public records. Your credit report. Property filings. My chest tightened. You can't access my credit report. You're right. I can't. She slid a paper across to me. But you can. You signed this authorization 2 years ago when you made me your emergency contact. You were smart even then, sweetheart. Some part of you knew. I took the document. My signature. My handwriting. The memory flashed back to the exact moment I signed it. I nodded. What did you find? Lenor pulled out a folder. Red. The color she always used for active fraud cases. Your family doesn't have a CFO, Callie. They have you. Unpaid, unappreciated, and completely bled dry. She opened it. Preston hasn't held a legitimate job in 6 years. He calls himself a high-risk investment consultant, but what he actually runs is a small-scale Ponzi scheme. He takes money from new investors, uses your income to pay returns to old ones. The beeping of my heart monitor picked up pace. It gets worse. She pulled out another sheet. This is a HELOC. Home equity line of credit. Taken against your house 3 months ago. $60,000. The number didn't make sense. I didn't take out a HELOC. No, you didn't. Lenor's jaw tightened. But someone did. Someone who forged your signature and had it notarized by someone who should lose their license. I stared at the document. The signature looked like mine. Close enough that a bank wouldn't question it. But I knew I didn't sign this. I would never leverage my house. It's the only thing I own outright. The only safe place I have. I can't prove this in court yet, Lenor said. Not without more evidence. But I can prove it to you. She turned the laptop toward me. Pulled up a video file. The thumbnail showed my kitchen. Ring camera? I asked. From your doorbell. The one that also covers your kitchen if the door's open. She hit play. The footage was from 7 weeks ago. I remembered. I was at a conference in Portland that weekend. Kinsley had complained I'd miss her birthday brunch. On screen, Preston sat at my kitchen table. Papers spread out. The HELOC documents. He had a pen in his hand, practicing something on a legal pad. My signature. Over and over. Checking it against his phone, probably a photo of my real signature. Trying again. Deidre leaned over his shoulder, watching. When he finally got it right, she actually clapped. 20 minutes into the video, the notary arrived. A woman I'd never seen before. She barely glanced at the signature. Didn't ask for ID. Just stamped the document and took her cash payment. Lenor paused the video. That's felony fraud. Bank fraud. Identity theft. 10 years minimum if prosecuted federally. I couldn't look away from the frozen image. My father's satisfied smile. My mother's approval. The casual criminality of it. How much is left? My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. Of the $60,000? About $800. The air left my lungs. The rest went into Preston's investment scheme. He used it to pay returns to 3 separate investors who were getting nervous. Bought himself another quarter of looking legitimate. I thought about the dress Kinsley needed. $500. There are 2 primary threats, Lenor said, switching into that clinical tone I remembered from her investigator days. Preston is the financial predator. He'll bleed you until there's nothing left, then declare bankruptcy and leave you with the debt. Kinsley is the reputation leech. She'll destroy your credibility to preserve her victim narrative. What do? You purge. She pulled up a list on her phone. Every supplementary card in your name. Every account they have access to. Every automatic payment that touches your money. You cut it all off. Right now. No warning. No explanation. My hands shook. They'll lose their minds. Good. Lenor's eyes were hard. Let them. You're in a hospital bed because you worked yourself into sepsis trying to keep them comfortable. They're in Cabo drinking on your dime. You don't owe them a soft landing. She was right. I knew she was right. But 32 years of conditioning doesn't evaporate because of one Instagram photo. Start with the cards, Lenor said. She handed me my phone, already open to my banking app. Lock them all. I navigated to the supplementary card management screen. For cards. Preston, Deidre, Kinsley, and one for Grandma Betty that I'd forgotten existed. I tapped the first one. Preston Howard. Status, active. Last charge, $340 at a golf pro shop in Cabo. Yesterday. I selected lock card. A confirmation screen appeared. Are you sure you want to restrict this cardholder's access? My thumb hovered. He's at dinner right now, Lenor said quietly. Checked his Instagram story 20 minutes ago. Some oceanfront restaurant. Expensive place. He's probably trying to recruit new investors over lobster. I pressed confirm. Then Deidre's. Then Kinsley's. Then Betty's. For cards locked in 90 seconds. A lifetime of enabling gone. Now the fraud alerts, Lenor said. Call the credit bureaus. Tell them you're a victim of identity theft and you need an immediate freeze. I made the calls. TransUnion. Equifax. Experian. It took effort. My voice cracked. I had to repeat myself twice to the automated system. But I did it. Each one sealed another door Preston was using to access my financial life. Final step, Lenor said. The joint accounts. We don't have joint accounts. You have 3 accounts that list Preston Howard as an authorized user. He can't withdraw, but he can see every transaction you make. She pulled up the statements. He's been monitoring your spending patterns for at least 2 years. That's how he knew exactly how much he could take without you noticing immediately. The violation of it crawled across my skin. I removed his access from all 3 accounts. Lenor checked her watch. In about 20 minutes, your father is going to try to pay for dinner. His card will be declined. The waiter will probably cut it in half right there at the table, in front of whoever he's trying to impress. Good, I said. My phone rang before the word was fully out of my mouth. An unknown number. My family. Lenor reached for it, but I stopped her. I needed to hear this. Needed to know if there was any part of my family that was calling because they found out I was hospitalized. Any fragment of him that was actually my family instead of my accountant. I answered. Put it on speaker. You made me look like a fool. My father's voice was pure rage. Not worried. Not concerned. Rage. The waiter cut up my card in front of clients. Do you have any idea what you've done? Not, are you okay? Not, we heard you were sick. Just fury that his access to my money got interrupted. Fix this, he demanded. Right now. I don't care what kind of tantrum you're throwing. Fix it. Lenor's hand covered mine on the phone. Steady. Grounding. No, I said. What? No. I'm not fixing anything. Callie, I swear to God if you don't, I hung up. Turned off the phone. Set it face down on the table. Lenor squeezed my hand. How do you feel? Like. I just cut off my own arm. Like I can finally breathe. Like I'm going to throw up. Like I'm free. Terrified, I told her. Good, she said. That means you're doing it right. 2 days after waking up, the discharge paperwork felt like a prop from someone else's life. 6 days. That's how long I'd been here. 6 days of beeping monitors for antibiotics, nurses checking my vitals every 4 hours. 6 days of existing in this sterile bubble while my family imploded in real time. Lenor signed as my medical proxy. I still couldn't stand for more than 10 minutes without my vision tunneling. The nurse wheeled me out in the mandatory chair, and I hated every second of it. Hated the weakness. Hated that my body had betrayed me so completely. But mostly, I hated that I was going home to a house my father had violated. The Uber pulled up to my place, and I was struck by how normal it looked. Gray siding. Black shutters. The lawn needed mowing, but otherwise, everything appeared untouched. Like the past week hadn't shattered my entire understanding of my family. Lenor helped me up the front steps. My abdomen still ached with every movement, a constant reminder of how close I came to dying while they sipped cocktails. Inside, though, the violation became visible. Preston's coffee mug sat on my kitchen counter. Not washed. Just abandoned there, like he planned to come back and finish it. Deidre's reading glasses were folded on the arm of my couch. The throw pillows were rearranged in that specific way she preferred, the decorative ones shoved to the corners. They were living here. While I was intubated, they were living in my house like it belonged to them. Don't touch anything yet, Lenor said. She was already pulling on latex gloves from her purse. Always prepared. I've been documenting, but we need photos of everything exactly as they left it. I lowered myself onto a dining chair, the only piece of furniture that didn't feel contaminated. Lenor moved through the rooms with professional efficiency, her phone camera clicking steadily. She opened drawers I didn't even know they'd accessed. My home office. My bedroom closet. The storage boxes in the garage. How bad is it? My voice came out thin. Bad enough. She returned with a banker's box, set it on the table in front of me. But also stupid enough. Inside were documents. So many documents. Bank statements with my forged signature. Printouts of wire transfers. A ledger in Preston's handwriting, tracking investments that didn't exist. And underneath it all, a business registration form for something called Apex Horizons LLC. Nevada filing. Preston listed as managing member. What is this? That, Lenor said, pulling up a chair, is where your HELOC money went. Not to bills. Not to their mortgage. To a shell company Preston set up 18 months ago. My hands shook as I flipped through the pages. $60,000. siphoned in increments small enough that I wouldn't notice on statements I barely checked. The money didn't disappear into generic family emergencies. It went into an account Preston controlled completely. He'd been running this scheme for 8 years minimum. Lenor spread out a timeline she'd constructed. Color-coded. Cross-referenced. Small investors. Mostly people from his golf club. He'd promised 12% returns, pay out the first few dividends to build trust, then use new investor money to pay old investors. A Ponzi scheme. A Ponzi scheme, she confirmed, tapping the Nevada filing. This is the infrastructure. He thought Nevada's privacy laws would protect him. He thought you'd never look. I stared at the evidence. At the proof of my father's systematic fraud, laid out in neat columns. Part of me wanted to feel shocked, but mostly I just felt cold. My phone buzzed. Grandma Betty. Again. She'd called 4 times since yesterday. Left 3 voicemails that Lenor had previewed for me, each one more aggressive than the last. The messages all followed the same script. I'm selfish. I'm cruel. I'm destroying the family over a misunderstanding. The felony fraud didn't rate a mention. The phone buzzed again. Insistent. Demanding. The same ringtone I'd assigned her years ago because she complained when I didn't answer fast enough. I reached for it, but Lenor's hand covered mine. You don't have to answer. She'll just keep calling. Let her. But the buzzing continued. I pulled my hand free and accepted the call. Put it on speaker because I was too tired to hold the phone. Finally, Grandma Betty's voice filled my kitchen, sharp and certain. Do you have any idea what you've put your parents through? They had to fly home in economy class, Callie. Economy? Your mother's back has been out for 3 days. I was intubated, Grandma. And that's very unfortunate, sweetheart. But you're fine now. Preston says you've frozen all the accounts over some billing confusion. You need to fix this immediately. Billing confusion? That's what he's calling it. He forged my signature on a $60,000 loan. Oh, don't be dramatic. You have so much, and they have so little. It is your duty to share. Family takes care of family. There it was. The foundational belief that had governed every interaction we'd ever had. Family takes care of family, which in practice means Callie funds everyone else's choices without complaint. Preston says you're destroying the family over a misunderstanding. Betty's voice softened, turned coaxing. You've always been such a good girl, Callie. So responsible. Don't let pride ruin what we have. Lenor reached for the phone, her expression fierce. Ready to fight this battle for me. I stopped her. This is mine. I took the phone off speaker, lifted it to my ear. My hands still shook, but my voice came out steady. Grandma, love isn't a line of credit. I'm done paying for my own abuse. Then I hung up. Silence filled the kitchen. Lenor stared at me like she was seeing someone new. My phone immediately started buzzing again, Betty's name flashing. I declined the call. Blocked the number. The sudden quiet felt massive. That was the matriarch, Lenor said slowly. You just hung up on the matriarch. I know. She'll escalate. I know. Lenor's expression shifted into something I'd never seen directed at me before. Respect, maybe. Or recognition. She pushed the banker's box toward me. Then you're going to need to see all of it. The other investors. The payment records. The complaints people have already filed with the state. I pulled the documents closer. Forced my exhausted brain to process what I was seeing. 5 other investors besides me. All older men from Preston's network. All promised impossible returns. All paid back with money from the next person in line. This is prosecutable, I said. Extremely. Federal charges. Multiple counts. I looked up at her. He's coming for the house, isn't he? Once he realizes the money's really gone. Lenor nodded, her jaw tight. Yes. But they don't know I've traced where the HELOC money went. They don't know we have the Nevada filing. They don't know about the investor list. She leaned forward, and I saw the forensic auditor she used to be. The woman who took down corporate fraud rings and walked away clean. We have the leverage, Callie. We just need them to walk into the trap. 3 days later, Kinsley's video hit 2 million views while I was sitting in a staff meeting. My phone buzzed against the conference table. Once. Twice. 7 times in 30 seconds. I flipped it face down, but not before I Caught a glimpse of the notification. Kinsley Living tagged you in a post. Later, in the bathroom, I watched it. Kinsley's face filled the screen. Mascara streaked artfully down her cheeks. Real tears this time, I thought. Or maybe she'd just gotten better at the glycerin trick. My sister left us stranded. She sobbed into the camera. We had nothing. No way home. She cut us off while we were in another country because she couldn't stand seeing us happy for once in our lives. The comments scrolled faster than I could read them. Asterisk narcissist. Hope karma gets you. Your poor parents. Asterisk by the end of the day, 3 coworkers had asked if I was okay. By the end of the week, my boss pulled me aside to discuss personal matters affecting workplace perception. Professional damage. Mounting. Exactly what Kinsley intended. 2 weeks after the video went viral, Preston's lawyer sent the demand letter. Lenor brought it to my apartment on a Tuesday evening. I was heating up soup I wouldn't eat, trying not to think about the fact that my LinkedIn inbox was full of messages from people who'd seen Kinsley's performance. Tenants' rights, Lenor read aloud, her voice flat. He's claiming a verbal lifetime lease based on, quote, decade of continuous residency and property management, unquote. I set down my spoon. He what? It's a stalling tactic. Ties the house up in court for years while he lives there rent-free. She flipped to the next page. His lawyer is decent. Not great, but decent enough to make this expensive for you. The number at the bottom of the estimate made my stomach turn. Legal fees. Court costs. Years of my life spent fighting while Preston played victim and Kinsley racked up views. I thought about that Instagram photo again. The margaritas. My father's satisfied smile while I was intubated. What do we do? Lenor looked at me over the top of the letter. We let him think he's won. The mediation happened in a conference room that smelled like burnt coffee and desperation. Gray walls. Gray carpet. A table so aggressively neutral it might as well not exist. Preston arrived first, lawyer in tow. He was wearing a suit I bought him 2 Christmases ago for a business opportunity that never materialized. Deidre followed, phone already out, probably texting Kinsley play-by-play updates. Kinsley herself slouched in last, filming everything on her phone until the lawyer made her stop. I let my hands shake when I poured water from the pitcher. Spilled a little on the table. Preston noticed. Smirked. Kelly. His voice carried that false warmth he uses when he wants something. We don't have to do this. We're family. I didn't answer. Let my silence read as fear instead of fury. Lenor sat beside me, playing her part. Weary advisor. Tired of fighting. She'd dressed down for this, wore her oldest blazer, left her forensic auditing credentials off the table tent with her name. Preston's lawyer started talking. Demands. Concessions. A formal acknowledgement of their residency rights. 6 months minimum before any eviction proceedings, plus a monthly stipend for displacement hardship. The words blurred together. I focused on my breathing. In for 4. Out for 4. The technique my therapist taught me for panic attacks worked just as well for calculated performance. Miss Howard. Preston's lawyer leaned forward. Your father has been very patient. But he's prepared to take this to trial if necessary. The publicity alone, we have a proposal. Lenor interrupted. She slid a document across the table. Single page. Dense text. The header read, Affidavit of Residency and Management. Preston's lawyer picked it up. Skimmed it. His eyebrows rose slightly. But he kept his face professionally neutral. What is this? A compromise. Lenor's voice was exhausted. Defeated. Oscar-worthy. Callie will agree to a 6-month extension and a modest monthly stipend. In exchange, Preston signs this affidavit, confirming he resided at the property as his primary residence and exclusively managed household finances for the past 10 years. I watched Preston read over his lawyer's shoulder. Saw the exact moment he thought he'd won. His spine straightened. The smirk returned. This admits everything, Preston said slowly. That we lived there. Managed everything. Ran the household. Play? Yes. Lenor slid a pen across the table. It validates your claims. Makes any future legal action much simpler. For you. I need to consult with my client, the lawyer said. He looked uneasy. They huddled. Whispered. I saw the lawyer tapping the paper urgently, shaking his head. He'd spotted the risk. He knew exclusive management was a liability trap. But Preston wasn't listening. He was looking at me. At the daughter he thought he'd beaten. It's fine, Preston said, loud enough for us to hear. He waved his lawyer off with a dismissive flick of his hand. She just wants a piece of paper to save face. Let her have it. Preston, I strongly advise against, the lawyer started. I said it's fine. Preston snatched the pen. His signature sprawled across the bottom line, bold and confident. The signature of a man who thought he'd just secured his retirement on his daughter's dime. Deidre signed as witness. So did Kinsley, her handwriting looping and dramatic. They left 20 minutes later, high-fiving in the hallway. I heard Kinsley's laugh echo back through the closing door, sharp and triumphant. The door clicked shut. Lenor's exhausted demeanor vanished like someone flipped a switch. She picked up the signed affidavit, held it up to the light streaming through the window, checking the signatures one final time. Then she smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a forensic auditor who just got exactly the evidence she needed, gift-wrapped and notarized. They just signed their own death warrant. I stared at the document. At Preston's confident signature. What did we do? By swearing he lived here in Washington as his primary residence while simultaneously claiming Florida residency for tax purposes on other documents I've collected, he just confessed to tax fraud. Lenor set the affidavit down carefully, reverently. And by admitting he exclusively managed household finances, he just linked himself directly to every transaction from the Ponzi scheme accounts. The trap. Not in the language of the document, but in what signing it proved. The IRS loves this kind of thing, Lenor continued. Clear documentation. Signed confession. No wiggle room. She slid the affidavit into her leather portfolio. We just armed the weapon. Now we wait for the right moment to fire. Outside, I heard Kinsley's laugh again. Celebratory. Victorious. She had no idea what her father had just signed. Neither did Preston. But they would. The party planning started 3 days after the mediation. I knew because Kinsley posted about it. Victory celebration at the family estate this weekend. Sometimes you have to fight for what's yours. Family wins. Justice served. The family estate? My house? The one they were still illegally occupying while I paid rent on a studio apartment near the hospital because I couldn't stomach sleeping under the same roof. Lenor showed me the post over coffee at her place. I should have felt rage. Instead, I just felt tired. Let them celebrate, Lenor said. She was wearing reading glasses, scrolling through something on her laptop. Hubris makes excellent seasoning. For what? She turned the screen toward me. It was a Reddit thread. The title, Help Me Find Proof My Coworker's Sister is Lying About Her Narcissist Story. My chest tightened. Who posted this? Sarah Chen from your logistics department. Apparently she remembered you were out with sepsis the same week Kinsley claimed you abandoned the family. Lenor clicked through the comments. She's asking if anyone has time-stamped proof of where your family was during your ICU stay. I scanned the responses. Someone linked Kinsley's Instagram. Another person pulled the metadata from her Cabo photos. A third commenter found the resort's tagged location history. This will destroy her, I said. Lenor removed her glasses. She destroyed herself. The internet is just holding up a mirror. By that evening, the truth was everywhere. Someone obtained visitor logs from the hospital through a HIPAA request, proving 0 family visits during my 6-day stay. The timestamps on Kinsley's vacation photos lined up perfectly with my intubation. The comments on her TikTok shifted like a tide going out. Asterisk, you lied about everything. Your sister almost died and you were doing shots? This is actually sick. Get help. Asterisk, her follower count dropped by half overnight. By morning, 3 brand deals had issued public statements terminating their partnerships. Her management company put out a vague statement about pursuing other opportunities. I watched it happen from Lenor's couch, coffee going cold in my hands. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt hollow. They're coming tomorrow, Lenor said. She was on her phone, typing rapidly. Preston just confirmed. 2 p.m. For what? Final settlement meeting. I told him you're ready to surrender the house entirely. She looked up, a sharp smile. He thinks he's won. The next afternoon, I arrived at Lenor's office building downtown. It was all glass and steel, the kind of place that smelled like expensive carpet and quiet money. Preston's leased Range Rover was already in the parking garage. I recognized it by the Investor Lifestyle bumper sticker he'd slapped on the pristine bumper. Tacky, just like him. My hands shook as we rode the elevator up. Lenor squeezed my shoulder once, brief and firm. "Remember," she said, "you're not the one who should be afraid." The conference room was smaller than I expected. Preston sat at the head of the table, legs spread wide, taking up space like it was his birthright. Deidre perched beside him, fresh manicure drumming against the wood. Kinsley slouched in the corner, phone face down for once. Her eyes were red. No lawyer this time. Interesting. Where's your counsel? Lenor asked, arching a brow. Preston waved a hand dismissively. At $400 an hour just to watch me accept your surrender? I don't think so. I can handle a simple property transfer. Lenor smiled. A shark sensing blood. Suit yourself. Callie. Preston's voice dripped with false warmth. Good to see you being reasonable about all this. I didn't respond. Lenor gestured for me to sit, then took the chair at the opposite end of the table. Between us, she placed 2 items. The signed affidavit from last week, and a thick manila envelope. Pre-stamped. Pre-addressed. Internal Revenue Service. Criminal Investigation Division. Preston's eyes flicked to it. Something crossed his face. Not quite fear yet. Just calculation. What's that? Deidre asked. Lenor folded her hands. Insurance. She opened a leather folder. Inside were 2 subfolders, labeled A and B. She slid folder A across the table. This contains Ring camera footage from Callie's kitchen showing you, Preston, practicing her signature. 47 attempts before you got it right. She tapped the folder. It shows the notary arriving. Shows you forging the HELOC documents. That's bank fraud. Identity theft. 10 to 15 years in federal prison. Preston's face strained. That's not what that is. The notary already cooperated with authorities. He's willing to testify in exchange for a reduced sentence on his other cases. Lenor didn't raise her voice. Didn't need to. Folder A goes to the FBI if you walk out that door without signing the voluntary surrender. Deidre made a small sound. Almost a whimper. Lenor slid folder B forward. This one's even better. Remember that affidavit you signed last week? The one where you swore under oath that you lived in Washington as your primary residence while exclusively managing all household finances. Preston's hands curled into fists. That's interesting. Because your Florida driver's license says you're a resident of Orlando. So does your tax return from last year. And the year before. And every year since 2016. She opened the folder, revealing page after page of documentation. You claimed Florida residency to avoid Washington's capital gains tax. But you just signed a legal document admitting you lived here. That's called tax fraud, Preston. I'll recant. His voice came out strangled. I'll say I was confused. Then I mail both folders to investigators and you get charged with perjury on top of everything else. Lenor leaned back. But wait. There's more. She pulled out another set of papers. Financial ledgers. Bank statements. Names I didn't recognize. By admitting you managed Callie's household finances, you legally tied yourself to every account that received funds from her income, including the Nevada Shell Company. Including the investment scheme accounts. She spread them like a poker hand. We have 12 investors ready to file complaints. We have wire transfer records. We have your signature on documents promising returns you knew you couldn't deliver. Those were legitimate investments, Preston said. But his voice cracked. Then you won't mind explaining them to a grand jury. Silence filled the room like water rising. Deidre was crying quietly. Kinsley stared at the table. Motionless. Preston looked at me finally. Really looked at me. Callie. Sweetheart. This is your aunt twisting everything. You know me. You know I'd never deliberately hurt you. We're family. His voice shifted, took on that wheedling tone I'd heard 1,000 times. We made mistakes. People make mistakes. But we raised you. We loved you. Doesn't that count for something? Once, that tone would have shattered me. Would have pulled me right back into the cycle. Now I just waited for Lenor to finish. She tapped the pre-stamped envelope. Here's how this works. You sign the voluntary property surrender right now. You vacate within 24 hours. I file a simple eviction on record. No criminal charges. You walk away with your freedom. Or, Preston asked. Or you refuse. And this envelope goes in the mail the second you leave. FBI. IRS. Every investor complaint filed simultaneously. You'll be in federal custody within a week. The fluorescent lights hummed. Someone's phone buzzed. Kinsley, probably. Another brand deal falling through. Preston's hand trembled as he reached for the pen. Just a small loan, he said, voice breaking. To help us move. Start over. $5,000. You have so much, Callie. Just $5,000. Every cell in my body recognized this moment. The final test. The last chance for old patterns to reassert control. Old Callie would have checked her bank balance before he finished the sentence. I stood. Looked him directly in the eye. No. One word. Clean. Final. His face crumpled. Not with sadness. With rage. With disbelief that his asset was refusing to perform. He signed. 18 hours later, I stood in my house while Lenor changed the locks. The place was empty except for the furniture I bought. They took their clothes, Preston's files, Kinsley's ring light setup. Nothing else. The silence was extraordinary. My phone buzzed. Grandma Betty's name lit up the screen. I let it go to voicemail, already knowing what it'd say. Asterisk family betrayer. Ungrateful. Cold-hearted. Asterisk I deleted it without listening. Through the window, I watched the sunset paint my neighborhood in shades of copper and gold. My abdomen still ached sometimes, phantom pain from the sepsis, but my chest felt light, free. The house sold 3 months after the eviction. I watched the closing documents slide across the table at the title company, my signature steady where Preston's once trembled. After paying off the fraudulent HELOC, there was no profit. Just zero. A clean slate where contamination used to be. I took the last check and walked out into the rain. My new apartment overlooked Puget Sound from the 3rd floor of a 1970s building in Ballard. 800 square feet, 1 bedroom, a balcony barely wide enough for 2 folding chairs. It cost half what the house did, and when I woke up here, my chest didn't feel like someone parked a truck on it. No ghosts. No debts. Just mine. 6 months after the eviction, I met the first grant recipient in a coffee shop near Pike Place Market. Her name was Rebecca, 28. Shaking hands, clutching a folder of financial documents she was afraid to open. My brother took out credit cards in my name, she said. I didn't know until collections called my work. I recognized the look in her eyes. The shame that didn't belong to her but sat there anyway, heavy as a stone. You're not responsible for what he did, I told her. You're only responsible for what you do now. She cried. I handed her tissues and the grant paperwork. $5,000. Enough for a security deposit and first month's rent somewhere he doesn't have the address. How did you stop feeling guilty? She asked. I thought about that for a moment. The truth is complicated. Healing isn't linear. Some days I still wake up and reach for my phone to check if they've texted. But most days I don't. I stopped confusing love with sacrifice, I said finally. Real love doesn't cost you everything. That afternoon, my phone buzzed. The same notification tone from that ICU room months ago. My body froze. Old programming trying to boot up. It was an email. Subject line, emergency. Kidney surgery. I stared at Preston's name in my inbox. My thumb hovered over the delete button, but something stopped me. Curiosity, maybe. Or the need to see if I'd still feel that old pull. I opened it. Callie, I know we haven't spoken, but I need your help. Emergency kidney surgery next week. Insurance won't cover everything. The hospital needs $8,000 up front or they'll cancel. I'm sorry for everything that happened. I know I made mistakes. But I'm your father. Please. The words were precision engineered. Medical crisis. Apology. Blood relation. Every pressure point he'd installed in me since childhood, pressed in exact sequence. In the past, I would have called the hospital to verify. I would have at least Googled it. I might have felt guilty for not caring. Now, I just forwarded it to Lenor without reading the rest. Her response came back in 4 minutes. Outpatient procedure. Kidney stone removal. Insurance covers 100%. He posted about his minor procedure on Facebook yesterday with laughing emojis. I deleted the email. No hesitation. No second thoughts. No knot in my stomach. I walked to my balcony with a cup of tea. The sound stretched out, gray and restless under low clouds. A ferry cut through the water, lights bright against the coming dusk. Seagulls wheeled overhead, their cries sharp and clean. I breathed in salt air. Exhaled slowly. This is peace. Not the absence of noise, but the presence of boundaries. A fortress I built brick by brick, learning that walls aren't always meant to keep people out. Sometimes they're just meant to keep you safe inside. My journal sat on the small table. I opened it to a blank page and wrote, "Silence isn't an absence of noise. It's a fortress I built to protect my peace." Then, below it, they taught me love was sacrifice. I learned love is also boundaries. The sun broke through the clouds for just a moment, turning the water gold. I closed the journal and let myself smile. Not because everything is perfect, but because everything is finally mine.